Hello. Hello, beautiful merriment makers. Oh my goodness. Hi, welcome. Welcome back to Merriment Mondays live. I am so happy you're here, whether you're watching live or on the replay. You made time for this and this moment. And that's not small, it is deeply sacred. Yes, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So if anything ever doesn't work for you, feel free to hop over to another platform. Today, we are talking about something that might feel a little bit out of reach when you are exhausted, when you are overwhelmed or stretched really thin. And that's just making joy a part of your daily life. So, this is something that, the amount of emails, the amount of texts, the amount of DMs that I get for, over a decade now. How do we do this? How do we be happy? And the answer is to put it into your life, to schedule happiness, to plan for joy, and not just someday, but today, even when you feel like you don't have a single minute to spare. So if you've ever caught yourself saying things like, I'll rest after this week or like next month, or once I get through this thing, I'll do something for me. This one is for you. So, this episode is also especially if you are a heartfelt caregiver or an autopilot achiever. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to want to take the quiz at uncustomary.org/quiz. It is free and it is simple and it is easy. And I'll put it here in the chat on Facebook and YouTube, and you can check out the link in my bio if you're on Instagram. So, heartfelt caregivers and autopilot achievers, raise your hands in the chat if that's one of your archetypes. These are the kinds of people who give everything to other people or to their goals, but they often forget themselves in the process. So again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go take the quiz, the Joy Archetype quiz at uncustomary.org/quiz. It is free, and you'll find out the unique way to access your happiness and free resources that are curated just for your type. Hello, April. I think this is Sherry. Yes, welcome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah, in my previous job, I was constantly planning months and weeks in the future, even on short breaks. That's good. But was it the thing too is like, are we planning and then we actually do it? Or are we planning and then just saying, I'm gonna do it. I'll do it someday, right? Those are the difference. Yeah, we have a that's me, Lydia. Yeah, okay. All right. So let's talk about this. So in a world where we're glorifying productivity and joy can start to feel silly, frivolous. That's what a lot of us believe deep, deep down. Even if we say that we don't, it's demonstrated through our actions when we prioritize other things instead of it. So we think that luxury is something you have to earn, that fun is something that happens later or only for children. And this is a myth. I truly believe that joy isn't just the cherry on top of your Sunday, of your life Sunday. It is the whole Sunday. Okay. And I want to sacredly, gently interrupt the myth that joy is something you'll get around to. Because you know what? The to-do list is never going to be empty. The laundry will always be waiting for you. There are always dishes, there's always hair to shave. And no one else is going to schedule joy into your calendar for you. In fact, if you want to be able to delegate something, those are things that you could hire out. Eventually, maybe if you're feeling so happy for so long that you end up even increasing your income, which is really real. When you're happy and when you're charismatic and when you're enjoying your life, you actually make so much more money per year because you're more likely to get a raise. You're more likely to put energy into your entrepreneurship. But scheduling joy and feeling good aren't things that you can ship out. You can't delegate those things. You cannot outsource them. It's like you can have everybody go do something else for you. You could have your roommate or your partner do all the chores, but they still can't go to the bathroom for you, right? Even though I wish sometimes that that was a thing. However, It's the same thing with joy. You are the one that has to experience that at the end of the day. And we're living in a place of time where I still see it. It was bigger a couple of years ago, but this whole like I'm busy, I can't talk. Like, it's on planners, it's on tote bags. It's this state that we say we're happy. The planners say I am very busy. We have cups and tote bags and it's embossed in glittery foil, and we treat burnout like it's not just a badge of honor, but a personality trait. But when did we decide that your busyness became your worthiness? Where is that from? Is that from your upbringing? Is it from social media? Is it from commercials? Who knows? Maybe all of them. But I want you to think about this as like a sacred disruption of not letting yourself get so busy filling your time that you ask how you actually want to spend the time. You are not a robot checking off boxes. You're a whole being who deserves pleasure and awe and lightness. Bertrand Russell said, time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. This is deeply, deeply true. So please feel free to share in the comments wherever you are, if you're watching live or on the replay, how does this show up for you? Like, are you somebody who is just always putting it off? Do you feel like you're a robot checking boxes? Do you feel like you're always putting other people first? And where is that coming from? Why do you still go with it? Why do you still believe it? Why do you still act with it? And what is something that you can challenge yourself to do that would disrupt that? That would be the complete opposite. What would it look like for you to flip your life in a way that you're putting yourself first? Can you do that? What if you looked at it as 1%? So I'm talking about the myth here that joy has to be grand and expansive and time consuming. And the science that backs us with telling us the opposite is deeply powerful. Requesting to be in the live. No, sorry. Um, so neuroplasticity is something that we talk about every time that you pause for joy, that you are carving out intellectual dyslexia, um, that you're carving out a new groove in your brain. You're, we can kind of rethink you can't hear anything. Hmm, that's interesting. You can't hear me. Sorry, on Instagram, they can't hear me. Okay, that's interesting. Just give me one moment and keep writing in the chat. And if you're joining on Instagram now, we kind of missed the beginning because it wasn't doing my voice. It wasn't creating any sound. So again, you can always shift over to Facebook or YouTube if you need to instead. Okay, so we were talking about neuroplasticity, right? That when we do take time to create joy, we're carving out a new groove in our brains. And to think of our minds like a forest where you're slowly building a happy trail by walking it over again and again and again. Can you hear me on Instagram now? Is it working? Give me like an emoji or something. Okay. So we have all the science that backs up why we can do this, which helps our logical brains and our bodies kind of get on board with wanting to try this. There's all these kinds of beliefs and things that we have in the past of this isn't going to work is really because there are these beliefs that work into our bodies of, well, it's not, what's the point? What's the point? So the reason that I share science-backed evidence for this is so that your brain and your body can get on board with what's going on. Unfinished tasks really weigh on your mind. And They are, let's see if that helps. Unfinished tasks can really weigh on your mind. And if you complete a micro task like lighting a candle or writing down one thought, this can give your brain relief. That's why people like Julia Cameron talk about morning pages and doing essentially like writing brain dumps in the morning, but also just this whole aspect of having unfinished tasks, this ongoing to-do list, is actually called the Zeigarnik effect. And when you take one thing off the to-do list, when you do something to participate in it, it gives your brain relief and it stacks up. So we also have the domino effect of like drinking water in the sun might lead to doing like a stretch outside, right? And doing that stretch might lead to taking a deeper breath. And doing these things can actually shift your mood. But what's the problem is that we are not really like making time or trying it. So for example, this week I've been going outside in my yard and putting down this little like $5 kind of like a picnic yoga mat in my yard and just laying outside in the grass and looking up at the trees and the birds and the clouds and breathing and just not even really doing anything else. And the sun is really good for you, but also, and so is being outside, obviously, but when I'm out there, I also have really fun ideas. I am like, oh, I should be drinking water, I should be stretching, and not in a way that's like, oh, this is something I have to do, but it's something that I want to do. So that's what I mean by the domino effect. When we do one good thing, we're like, oh yeah, okay, this reminds me of doing this. But if we're always locked into this routine and ritual that's so unyielding, we aren't really able to think of anything else because that's all we're doing. That's all we know. That's all we're making time for. And then, kind of going along with the Zeigarnik effect, we have something called cognitive overload relief, which is when you're overwhelmed, big goals shut you down. And tiny rituals can actually trick your brain into starting. And again, starting is everything. Your inertia is everything. Okay, just making sure that all of this is still working. Beautiful. All right. So, the point of me sharing those different scientific facts and theories is that we're not trying to create giant goals of for joy. We're not really overhauling anything. We're just trying to integrate joy in a very small, specific, easy way that and understand that just doing one little thing really helps. So rituals, no matter how small they are, they can build rhythm. They can create this like new inertia for us. And rhythm is really what our nervous systems are craving. Joy rituals are not extra, they are essential. So I know that you might still be saying, okay, but I really don't have 5 minutes. Well, one, you're watching this. So I'd love to just challenge that. You're saying that you don't have time for 5 minutes, but you are watching this. So you do. We have to re-trick our brains into thinking like how we're thinking about the day. And I do believe you that you're very busy. Some of you are holding up the sky for everyone around you, but that's exactly why this matters even more for you. Even if your only break is like hiding in the bathroom, use that. Use it. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing something for you. So one stretch, you're doing your best in the mirror. That counts. These little things count. And again, I'm not trying to add to your to-do list. I'm trying to help you make your life more fun, right? So if you think it's impossible, it will be. You will be proven right every single time that you believe something to be impossible. And if you think if it's impossible, it's going to be. But if you've made it this far today, in this call even, you will realize that there is a part of you that is open, that's open for more. So let's protect that spark and let's make it bigger. So think about these questions and answer them for me in the chat. How often do you say, I'm so busy? And use it kind of as a badge. Like, I can't do this because I'm busy. I can't make time for this because I'm so busy. are you doing that? When are you doing it? Do you do it to other people? Like when you're having a conversation and you're like, you know, I think it's going to be more helpful for me to demonstrate that I'm productive by saying that I'm busy. And is that even true? What we say becomes true, what we say our subconscious believes. So if you're always saying I'm busy, you will be, and you won't really be able to be creative and curious about how you can make time to be less busy, to make time for things that feel good. So if you keep saying, I'm so busy, my schedule is crazy, da 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 da, it becomes even more true. It becomes even more of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Another question you can ask yourself is, do you prioritize invisible labor for other people, but continue to forget your own needs? So invisible labor means like helping people emotionally, making like, a note of, here's a good, one of the best ways that I know to explain this is if the ketchup is running low in your fridge, you can take a look at it and be like, oh, you know what? That is something that's happening. That is something that like I'm going to need more ketchup. And then you kind of have to write it down and then you have to schedule going to the store. And the actual obtaining of the item is the physical labor, but everything that went into that, the understanding, the awareness, and the listing, the planning, all of that is invisible labor. So it's not that it's not labor, it's that it's just not really noticed or maybe even appreciated. So are you doing that instead of your own needs? And maybe another thing to ask yourself is how much time are you spending on scrolling? Not that screens and the internet are bad, they're not. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It's just, are you saying that if you look at your phone chart, you know how it has that like data usage of how much you've been spending on your phone? Or you were to chart it yourself, are you actually scrolling for 90 minutes a day? Or are you watching 4 TV episodes and then saying, I have no time? I have no time. You do. You do if you're doing those things. And by adding these things in or swapping them out rather, I guess, you are creating a different space for yourself. And that is a sacred disruption. It's like trickster energy. So like, I don't need to do this. I get to do that. I get to be really fun with how I'm doing this. And you get to think about what if you could make room for joy? What if you could do that? Okay, so like Lydia said, for me, it's a lack of energy. And then Lydia also said, I think that you're putting other things earlier. You said you were like putting things in when I went through the Heartfelt Caregiver and Autopilot, you were saying like that is me as well. So one question is like, if you're having a lack of energy, is that because of how much emotional and invisible labor you're doing for other people? And how much of that is absolutely necessary? And how much is it of it do we think is necessary because we have been the one shouldering it for so long? What would it look like to say, you know what? I'm actually not going to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And just kind of pare down a little bit. Just take one thing away. If you're constantly helping other people, it's not really going to it's not going to work for you. You're going to have a lack of energy. It's absolutely going to be true. And also, what if we challenge this idea of I have a lack of energy? I'm always tired. This doesn't work for me. What if you challenge that idea and say, and just start repeating something that feels untrue, that feels a little delusional, like the fake it till you make it, but with energy? What if we did that? What if we said, I am so excited about how much energy I have today? And you also state it in the past tense as if it's already happened. In the morning, you say, I am amazed at how much I can do, how much I can feel, how much I can experience and live in this day. I was so amazed with myself that you kind of turn that into the new self-fulfilling prophecy. Our circumstances and the physical world are real and they can be limitations, but they're also something that we get to work with because so much of this is our mindset. So like even with me like having like endometriosis, going through surgeries and having chronic pain daily, that's something that I'm definitely still dealing with all the time. I just don't even talk about it anymore because I don't know, it seems a little boring and not really helpful for anybody else, but in a way of me kind of approaching it for this, if I am aware that that affects my energy and has been for decades. And also, I don't say because of that I can't do this. I know that this is hurting. I look at ways to kind of like guinea pig test different ways to boost my energy. I look into biohacking and the physical ways that we can kind of manipulate our bodies and brains to create more energy because I know that is a problem for me. But that doesn't mean that I stop doing things or that I have the belief that I have no energy or that I have pain all the time. Like what helps me is in the morning, I will say things like, I didn't have any pain today. I went through my day and I was amazed at how much I could accomplish. And you'd be really shocked. And if you how you do that on a daily basis, it will start to become true. That's kind of what it's a little bit of like the woo-woo manifesting aspect of it, but it's because you're kind of tricking your brain into thinking something and believing it, then you get to do more or feel it or believe it more. My sister and I were primary caregivers for my dad. He had dementia and needed 24-hour care, and he passed on Thursday. I'm so sorry. That's awful. I'm very sorry. It has been a long year. I can imagine. That's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah, my dad is also I get you. Like my dad has a long-term illness that is only kind of deteriorating and we just had to kind of clean out my home, my childhood home, and he moved into this very different place that's even farther away from me. But I still have to kind of go help and care and take care of that. Even just like he was in the hospital, we had to take care of him and rehabilitate him and then um go to physical therapy all the time and he can't drive and there's not really any money from him to be able to do a lot of these things um and even just clearing out the house is a lot of energy, right? And I guess I'm just saying I wasn't a 24-hour caregiver. I was for for a little bit, but I am definitely still aware of how that works and how draining it can be. And sometimes there's not really another option. It's like that or do nothing. And I really get that. And it's still like if you're in a place of caregiving, whether you have a child or your parent is sick or someone else, and you're kind of like really in charge of a lot of the things that are going on in their lives, you still do get to say, this part of it is too much for me. If I'm looking at it, this is the part that is draining me the most. And I kind of need to figure out another way to do this. Instead of just saying like, this is my to-do list, I have to do this. What if we kind of we become curious about it and ask the questions of like, what could it look like if I switched this up? What could it look like if I asked for more help with the resources that might be available to us, like looking into um Department of Aging, right? Or different like state or federal resources that might actually be there for you to help instead of us believing that we have to do every single thing. And it's not that that will 100% work for everything. It's just that we have to be aware of what's draining us, become insistent upon our energy being first. There's a bunch of balloons just flew through Instagram. And and then articulate those boundaries in a way that makes us standing up for ourselves, creating advocacy, not just for them, but for yourself. Because again, if you have to be the 24-hour caregiver for someone, if you are drained, it's not going to work, right? So like, for example, when my dad came home from the long-term acute physical therapy thing, I I went to live with him for a week and I was doing everything. And the second day I got the thing that he had right before he went into acute therapy or the hospital rather. It was like the norovirus, which is just it's the stomach flu where everything is coming out. But it's deeply debilitating. There's something more achy about it, I think, than just the regular stomach bug. But it was I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything except barely go to the bathroom. And I was just deeply dehydrated and like completely just out of it, couldn't do anything. And and then he was like, "Can I get you anything?" I'm like, "You can't walk. How's that going to work?" Right? So uh, the point is like, if you're down, then how are you going to take care of anybody else? And that's really at the end of all of this, like feeling good to do good. You have to put yourself first so that you can help others. It's not that we don't want to help others. We need to help other people. And it's not going to work if we're physically unable, because at a certain point you will become physically unable if we are always emotionally drained and physically drained. Yeah, so sorry for your loss. In our case, we were lucky the VA and Hope Hospice were there for us. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And even asking like, what services do you provide? What can I take advantage of? Right. And I know that for you specifically, this isn't relevant anymore because your dad has passed. And right now, it's also going to be really important for you to prioritize any sort of feelings and grief that you have and let all of that be okay, you know? Also, in the Merriment Makers, we have fill in the blank, very easy, kind of like Mad Libs grieving prompts and affirmations. And there's also a way of 50 ways to grieve on my website. And it's helpful because it has resources, but it's also a way to kind of like think about how to celebrate their life, how to honor them, and also how to teach other people how to be around you. Because a lot of people are just going to be like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. And this is how you can kind of like advocate for your needs in this time specifically. Okay, so today we're talking about how do we make time for joy even when we don't have time? How do we make space for it? How do we do it in even small doses? So again, you want to ask yourself like, what are you doing that is making you so busy? How can that be reframed? How can you get curious about it? How can you get curious about what this could look like? Use your imagination or chat GBT or resources or friends as sounding boards to say things like, hey, I'd really like to figure out how to do this in the best way and that for me to get all of this done and prioritize my own needs. What is the best way to do that? You can ChatGPT is really interesting. You know, I use it to help organize my schedule and um you can really ask it anything. It's kind of insane. Okay, but we want to ask, what if you could make more space for joy? So let's actually do this right now together. We're going to grab a notebook or a sticky note or a piece of paper or the Notes app in your phone, and I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And for the next 5 minutes, I want you to write down anything that brings you joy. And this can be things that you're grateful for. It can be things that you just plain like I like dressing like a cloud. It can be things that make you smile, things that feel fun, things that make life feel a little bit like they're worth living. And it can be silly, it can be sensory, it can be nostalgic, it can be totally random. There's no filter. So I'm gonna give you a couple ideas to get started. I'm gonna paste these into the chat. And also, here's some other specific examples. So like the sound that your pet makes when their paws are like on the floor, the smell of waffle cones, the feeling when like I get when I drive and like I see a street light turn on as I'm there, or the my favorite stickers when I was a kid, or a time that I laughed so hard that I cried, or the fact that there is glitter and disco balls, you know? So I'm gonna turn on some music and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. And that's what's gonna happen. And I'll tell you what to do with it at the end. Okay, we're gonna go to music. And we're gonna go to sharing. And we're gonna share sound. And go ahead and write. I'll do it with you. Can you hear it? That's fine. There we go. All right. So now I want you to take some time in this moment and read back your list to yourself. Read it slowly and oh, okay. Yes, read it slowly to yourself. Let it sink in. Let it remind you that even in the hard times, you are still a person capable of pleasure and noticing beauty and finding fun. I'll read you mine. Fingerless gloves, interesting handwriting, audio programs, feeling like there's a glitch in the matrix, dogs with their heads out the window of a car, prisms that balance and bounce rainbows off of walls, receiving and sending postcards, dark chocolate, baked apples, upbeat ukulele music, how simple things can be when we let go, the smell of the salt water at the beach, astrology providing insights that are wild. When you do something that someone has been waiting for and you get a really great reaction, finding rocks shaped like something else, like a heart, seeing faces in inanimate objects, doing guerrilla art installations. So whether you're watching live or on the replay, feel free to drop one thing or all of them into the comments so that we can celebrate each other's sparks of joy. And then go through the comments and take a look and hype other people up. So the point of this list really is to remind yourself that there are things that you like and to take a look and take stock. So what exactly in here could you do? What exactly in here have you not made time for? What in here on this list are things that you could incorporate into your life? So, for example, I wrote down upbeat ukulele music. I wrote down baked apples. I wrote down, hmm. Okay, so like there are things in here that when I write down things like baked apples or dark chocolate or upbeat ukulele music, those are things that don't really take any energy, right? Those are things that I could order to my house or that I could just search for online. And by doing that and having it on in the background or having it available for me to eat are ways that I can make myself feel good, right? Now, there's other things on here that I would kind of need to seek out and make time for and notice that there's probably ways that I can put myself in this space of going out and experience a lot of these things. So like seeing faces in inanimate objects or a dog with their head out the window, um, those are ways that maybe I could go for a drive. And I kind of need to go out mostly to do that, but I could make sure that I'm making time to go out for a drive. And then there's things like concepts of how simple things can be when we let go. So maybe that means that I journal on that a little more. And wearing fingerless gloves, I can make sure that I do that every morning instead of not putting them on. And then there's things like doing guerrilla art installations. That takes more time. That takes energy and planning and scheduling. But the point of this is to demonstrate that in your list, there are likely things that you can do kind of passively and have on autopilot in the background to order, to have stocked in, to press play and listen. There are things that you can think of like, how can I group these all together? What would it look like to have a day or 2 hours where I make time for this or 5 minutes? And then there's other things that maybe you have a goal that you want to work towards, and you take those 5 minutes to work on that, taking these little micro movement steps to do that. Watching my cat parkour off of furniture or our shoulders. I love cats like that. So there are different things in your list, and maybe take a moment here to kind of categorize them while you're with me. What are some things that you could have from your list that are like passive, something that you can just have around, that you could easily get ordered to your home, that you already have in your house, that you could just look up on YouTube and listen? What are things like that that you could put on autopilot? Let autopilot work for you instead of you being the autopilot thing. And then what are the things that maybe could be grouped together? What are those things? And then what are things that maybe you need to put yourself in a specific situation for? Is it that you need to go out for a drive or a walk or be around people? These are little windows of ideas. And feel free to share all of these in the chat, any sort of categories that you're coming up with. If you give me feedback, I can give you feedback. And how can you make sure that this is on your to-do list, right? You already have a to-do list. You know that you do if you're so busy. So what if it looks like putting the 5 minutes on there and then making it the same thing every day for a week? You make time to play with your cat every day for a week for 5 minutes, but it's intentional, it's deliberate. And in that moment, you feel really connected. You feel lit up. You feel in the moment, you feel alive, you feel connected, you're not distracted by your phone, because it's not something that is happening passively in the background, but it's something that you are choosing to do. And then what are things that you can look at and be like, you know what? On Saturday, I want to do this. On Tuesday, I want to do this. How can you use your schedule to your advantage to fit things like this in? And remember that doing it begets doing more. So, like I said earlier, if you're going outside, you might be like, oh, I'm actually going to go explore and look at this flower. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to feel more at ease. But you have to create the space and you have to get out and do it as the inertia, right? You have to start your own inertia. And once you do that, you're going to feel so much better. You really will. So, science also tells us that being brief, having these intentional reflections on positive emotions, just like making this list and reading it back, whether it's the emotion of awe or excitement or gratitude or amusement or delight, these things can increase your baseline happiness and help improve your emotional resilience over time. So this act in and of itself can actually boost your dopamine just a little bit, right? And then it's also creating clarity to move forward about how to schedule this in. You're not really just making a list here, you're building a toolkit. And you get to add to this all the time. You get to edit it. You get to cross stuff out and be like, I don't like this anymore. You get to change your mind very often, as much as you want, and not feel guilty about it. You get to be like, oh, that's a great idea. What if you had this as an ongoing list, whether it's in your phone or a little notebook in your purse or something, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to add that to my list. And then every day you go for 5 minutes, you set an alarm. Let's do that. Let's create an external intervention for our neurodivergent minds to have an alarm that goes off every day at 8 a.m. or 12 p.m. or 5 p.m. or all of them. And at every time that alarm goes off, it is pencils down. I am doing the thing. And what am I going to do? I'm not sure. I have a list already. I'm going to do one of these things. Or Lydia just said, drinking my coffee outside. So let's do that every single day. Let's make time for it. Let's make sure that we're doing it. And let's enjoy that moment. How can you even think about, I mean, some things just get to be, right? Anything gets to just be. And you can also ask the question, how can I make this more fun? How can I make this more peaceful? How can I make myself feel more alive? Doing this ritual, drinking my coffee outside, what would make this even more fun? Is it a cute mug? Is it having music playing? Is it while you're drinking your coffee, you're making another list like this, or you're rattling off things that you like or saying positive affirmations while you're doing it? Is it not having your phone out? What is it that you can do to make that little ritual as beneficial to your fun, to your happiness as possible? This is how we remind ourselves that we are alive. And again, it's not a to-do list. It's a chance to feel something real, to feel great, to feel good, to feel anything. Because if you're so burnt out, what are you doing? We're wasting our time here. And we know that in our minds. So when we do that, it's also creating this cognitive dissonance when we're only prioritizing something else that doesn't make us feel good. We're like, I am wasting my time. And that is not a good feeling. And then you kind of get even more depressed and anxious and stressed. So what is a way that you can challenge the thought? Say, I don't need to be this busy. I don't need to be this stressed. There are other ways around this, and I have to put a line somewhere. This other person's happiness and health is not more important than my own because I have to feel good before I do good. And how can you integrate daily rituals that make you feel good as possible, and then even maximize the curiosity and the creativity within that of how to be more present, more focused, more alive, more joyful in that moment. So those are all like kind of theoretical examples of a concept, but the examples that I gave of like drinking your coffee outside and then, maybe saying affirmations out loud, putting your phone down, making a list of gratitude, making a list of things that you like, breathing in, doing some stretches, you can maximize all these together. It's kind of like atomic habit stacking, but it's feeling good stacking. Self-care is not a spa weekend. It is putting on new socks. It's taking a shower. It's leaving yourself a silly sticky note that says you are a magic human sparkler. And some go-to micro rituals that you could try are just 3 deep breaths before you turn on your computer or look at your phone or send an email, or saying thank you to your body when you stretch or when you wake up in the morning. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Or putting on a crazy song while you're brushing your teeth or showering. Where can you amplify the mood? Where can you mix up senses? And don't just think about this right now. I don't want you to just think about it. I want you to write it down. I want you to make a plan. None of this works if it's just shelf knowledge. How are you going to integrate it? Okay, now we've identified that you're tired. We've identified that you have low energy. We've identified that you don't like these things. And we've identified that you like all of these things. So how can we shift from here to there, but not just in our heads of being like, that's a good idea, but actually do it? How are you going to actually do it? How are you going to set alarms, put it in your calendar, and actually follow through? Those are important things. We don't have to be Beyonce. It's just, I mean, unless you're watching and then hello, but you just have to be someone who is willing to try something small. That's who you need to be. You, willing, participatory, prioritizing yourself. And that brings me to something else called unicorn time. So this is a concept by Eve Rodsky, and unicorn time is active leisure. It's not about making money. It's not about caregiving. It's not about passively consuming or doom scrolling. It is about the weird, beautiful things that you do just because they light you up. So like maybe for me, it's going on a solo joy scavenger hunt around the city or putting googly eyes on painted rocks, you know? But do you know what yours is? Again, the same way that you can't have someone else delegate your joy to you or go to the bathroom for you, you're the only one that's going to know what feels good to you. And if you don't know what yours is, maybe do some journaling or tapping or speaking out loud to just kind of like get that in the flow. But we also just made these lists, right? So we do know a little bit. Keep a list, make a list, keep a fun magnet list on your fridge. Schedule it like it's a doctor's appointment. Give yourself something to look forward to, because that's called anticipatory savoring. When you have something to look forward to. How many of you have things that you're on your calendars that you're like, I can't wait for that? And how far ahead is it? You should have something every week, every month, and every quarter that are different kind of levels of anticipatory savoring intensity. So the things that you do every week that you look forward to can be like one outing. The things that you do every month could be maybe like going to a concert. The things that you do every quarter could be going on a bigger trip or gathering with friends, or however it works for you, whatever feels fun to you. But think about like something daily, something weekly, something monthly, something quarterly. And how are you planning for that? How are you making time for that? How are you looking forward to that and having that at the top of your mind? And just by this process of savoring, it means that you're boosting your dopamine before the event even occurs. So unicorn time is basically just play and embodied joy, and anticipatory savoring is having something on your to-do list in the future that you're looking forward to. Do we have any specific questions for me while we're here about like how to do this? You're thinking about like what's happening right now. You're thinking about I have this list. I have my list of no's. I have my list of yeses. I know what I don't want. I know what I do want, and I'm not able to figure out the specifics of how to merge that. If you have questions about that or anything else that I've said so far, let me know in the chat before we go so that I can help you with that. Also, before we wrap up, I want to let you know about a couple things that you can get if you're inside of the Positive Pulse. So, first of all, whenever I'm posting from now in the future, when I'm posting a replay like this will be a recording, and then I'm going to post it in the Positive Pulse, and you can watch the replay there. But I'll also have additional resources for you that you won't see like on Instagram or YouTube on the public platforms. So, these are things like for today, for example, there's going to be a list of 15 creative ways to actually make more time for joy without quitting your job, without negating your responsibilities. There's going to be more journaling prompts, new ones about how to help you discover your hidden pockets of time, how to break up old stories about being too busy. There's going to be some new animations, affirmations. That one was visual dyslexia. um, Affirmations, positive affirmations, things to say, mantras, chants that are designed for busy people, busy humans who want more fun and not pressure. There's also a mini ritual for you to unlock your unicorn time, that playful time that feels good only to you and only belongs to you. And then there's a couple nerdy science facts that'll help you feel motivated if you're ever forgetting why this matters. So, also there's a bonus mission that you can try. So basically the point is that if you can get all of these and they're for free and join in further on the conversation inside the Positive Pulse. So that's where these replays are going to exist. And you can head over after this and keep the momentum going because joy is so much better when we make space for it, like we're talking about, and space for each other. So, if this idea of making joy a ritual feels good, I have some really beautiful ways to help you out with that. So, Feel Good in 5 days is a 5-day reset, super simple, with tiny daily prompts that help you reset your mindset and body in less than 5 minutes a day. And they're all science backed, and I explain why. And you also get tapping and a pep talk in there. And then we also have the 30-day reset, which is like that, but a little fancier. You get a challenge every day for 30 days, and they're different challenges than the 5-day reset. And there's all sorts of things in there like tapping and journaling and physical challenges and deep breathing and meditation and pep talks and audio boosts and worksheets and all of the ways that you can learn mini micro video lessons and things. And they're things that take less than 5 minutes to read or listen to and less than 5 minutes to achieve. But the idea is that if you have these 5-day or 30-day resets available to you, then you have a continuous prompt to come back to. It'll come right to your email, and you can also get all of them at once if you want to. But the idea is that you're having these little things pop up every day that you can reuse over and over and over again that are ways to simply reset your brain and body and shift it more towards a positive way of thinking. And if you want either of those, right now in the Positive Pulse, there are exclusive bundle deals that are expiring very soon because we are almost at the end of April. So there are 3 different bundles. The first one is the Feel Good Starter Pack, and that's for building joyful, happy habits from scratch. And happiness in your inbox, this is a way to kind of get like external regular boosts of magic, like good news texts and mail in your inbox. And then there's the ultimate reset, which is for like a month-long transformative shift for your mind and mood. And they're all on discount, all of them. So you get multiple things for at least 20% off, and be cool. Also, if you are local to Baltimore, come hang out with me on Saturday because I'm hosting the next Operation Merriment event, and it is the Googly Eyes edition. So we're gonna be decorating googly eyes and making our own and going eye bombing and putting googly eyes on things in a library and on the streets and giving things to people as well. So we love spreading joy in the streets, and it's going to be ridiculously fun. So if you have the ability to come, come. You can RSVP and get the details inside the Positive Pulse or at uncustomary.org/OPM, Operation Merriment. Okay, so if there's no other questions for me about how to integrate this into your life, let's just have a wrap up here and remind ourselves to bring this into real life, because I want you to at least leave this call with one small joyful habit that you can try this week. Less than 5 minutes. Post it in the comments, share it inside the Positive Pulse in the replay, get access to all those bonus resources once I post the replay in there. And we can start a thread that's like, what is your joy ritual? I would love to see what you try, what works, what doesn't, how you tweak it, how you make it more expansive, how you make it more sensory based, how you make it more fun. Remember that you do not have to be perfect. You just have to start. And that's where most of us are falling short, is the starting and the keeping going, right? The consistency with it. And don't get upset if you fall off the horse. You just got to get back on the happiness horse. So thank you so much for being here, for choosing yourself in a small but mighty way today. And, and again, in a world that teaches us to hustle, your decision to pause and breathe and smile and learn is radical. So make space for joy, plan your fun, protect your unicorn time, let yourself want things, and follow the crumbs of your curiosity. It's so important because when you feel good, you do good. And that is what merriment making is all about. I will see you soon, my beautiful souls. Okay, bye-bye.